Nostradamus predicted 6 zodiac signs will win the jackpot in 2026. Nostradamus left behind not only prophecies about rulers and eras. His manuscripts contain fragments hinting at a rare financial breakthrough that will affect only 6 zodiac signs in 2026. These records describe a moment when fate abruptly changes the trajectory of life, giving people access to resources that previously seemed unattainable. And today, as the author of this channel, I will reveal to you what has remained hidden for centuries. Who exactly will get the chance to break through to a new level of prosperity, thanks to events that Nostradamus considered to be turning points? This information is not about ordinary luck. It is about a rare coincidence of energies when a person's personal potential, inner strength, and path form a single breakthrough point. The 6 signs of the zodiac named in the treatises will face an opportunity that can change not only their financial situation, but also their very lifestyle. Before I reveal the names of these chosen ones, ask yourself, are you ready to hear something that could affect your future? If so, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the main thing. Next, you will find out who Nostradamus has given the chance to hit the jackpot and why these people will become the heroes of the financial boom of 2026. Aries. There is a version that if Nostradamus had been asked to describe a sign capable of turning one's financial reality upside down with one accurate step, he would have hinted at the energy of Aries in his symbolic lines. In the media image, this is someone who sees opportunities faster than others, is not afraid to press start, where most people freeze in doubt, and is ready to take responsibility for decisions. In this interpretation of his supposed prophecies, the jackpot for Aries is not only about luck, but about the ability to act when others are still calculating the risks, and to behave in a disciplined manner after winning, not before. Aries' profile in the realm of big money always combines strength and danger. On the one hand, it is courage, quick reactions, and the ability to recognize a live opportunity before it becomes obvious to the market. On the other hand, it is impulsiveness, stubbornness, and a tendency to take action before all the information has been gathered. In practical terms, this manifests itself as a willingness to invest time, energy, and resources in an idea, but also as a risk of burning out. In the 2026 jackpot scenario, Aries seems to be standing at the intersection of 2 lines. One leads to a sharp jump in income, while the other shows that one rash action can ruin even the most favorable period. Why does this sign often appear in popular stories about sudden wins? First of all, because of how Aries behaves with chances. They do not like long preparatory marathons without a sense of result, but instead intuitively feel moments of increased dynamics, changes at work, transformations in the economy, new trends. In this interpretation of Nostradamus's conditional prophecy, the jackpot refers not only to a lottery win, but also to a situation where a single action by Aries, a contract signed at the right time, a bold move into business, a change in the market, a restart of their professional role, brings them income that is disproportionate to their usual efforts. The key trigger here is behavior, not blind faith in luck. Those Aries who are used to seeing things through to the end, reading the terms and conditions carefully, and controlling their emotions, find themselves in situations similar to winning much more often. If we imagine a hypothetical scenario for 2026, Aries will actively diversify their sources of income. Learn to count not only money, but also time. Refrain from participating in ventures based solely on promises, and carefully monitor what they sign. It is these habits, not mystical symbols, that turn a favorable period into fertile ground for a big financial leap. Aries' decisions regarding their social circle are of particular importance in this media image. This sign often finds itself in situations where others use its energy. It launches a project, motivates the team, takes responsibility, and then sees how the main bonuses go to those who stood in the shadows. In the jackpot year scenario, a profitable turn for Aries is associated with weeding out toxic partners, dishonest intermediaries, and people who live off his initiative. When Aries transfers his assertiveness from external struggle to internal structuring of life, the chances of finding a really strong financial opportunity increase dramatically. Another trigger is discipline in handling small amounts of money. In popular imagination, Aries is associated with grand gestures, but in the financial sphere, it is small decisions that form the foundation for big wins. When Aries stops burning money on instant desires and starts planning expenses and recording income, at least in a simple table or app, the effect of an internal financial counter is triggered. In this interpretation, the imaginary Nostradamus seems to hint that those who are able to organize their daily trifles have the right to claim a great gift from circumstances. For Aries, this means that the path to the jackpot lies in controlling spontaneous spending, giving up the habit of shopping to relieve stress, and working on the habit of bringing financial plans to fruition. The action plan for a hypothetical lucky period is not based on magic. It is tied to specific steps. First, Aries should create a clear picture of what a big win means to them: the amount, the goal, the time frame. When the goal becomes measurable, the brain begins to work in search of solutions, not fantasies. Second, it is important to set aside time for learning. Financial literacy, a basic understanding of investment instruments, risks, taxation. All of this shapes the ability to distinguish a real opportunity from a beautiful myth. Third, discipline your work processes. Learn to complete tasks, avoid accumulating chaos in your affairs, and stay focused on key income vectors. This approach in itself increases the likelihood of jackpot situations, even without a direct link to lotteries. If we talk about specific habits that work in Aries' favor in this interpretation, they are regularly setting aside part of your income, refusing to make emotional purchases, analyzing results every month, being able to ask partners uncomfortable questions, and not agreeing to terms that seem too good to be true. Aries, who learns to set financial limits for themselves, ceases to be just a soldier of luck and gradually turns into a strategic player. For this type of behavior, the symbolic jackpot of 2026 becomes more of a logical continuation of the course than a coincidence. The media image of this period pays special attention to the topic of risks. For Aries, these are primarily associated with haste. The desire to be first sometimes pushes them to invest money in schemes that have not yet been tested by time, or to enter a project just because it sounds ambitious. The temptation to get even when an attempt fails is also dangerous. In this state, Aries may take out a loan, agree to large bets, agree to dubious means of earning money, just to regain a sense of control. In this interpretation, the advice for them is simple. Any opportunity that forces them to rush, does not give them time to think, and does not answer specific questions about risks, is not worth their attention, no matter how lucky the period seems. Another challenge is emotional exhaustion. Aries can simultaneously launch several projects, each of which is theoretically capable of becoming a source of large income: a new job, a side job, an online project, or education. However, without clear priorities, they risk spreading their energy too thin and not achieving results in any of them. In the symbolic scenario of Nostradamus's conditional prophecy, the jackpot goes to the Aries, who is able to give up unnecessary fronts, leave 2 to 3 key vectors, and systematically invest in them. Where energy ceases to disperse and focus becomes concrete, An environment is formed in which a great opportunity has a chance to land. An important safeguard is also the attitude towards advice. Aries often relies on their own intuition, but in finance, it is useful to have one or two competent people whose opinion they are really willing to listen to: a financial advisor, an accountant, an experienced entrepreneur. In this interpretation, the jackpot becomes not only the result of personal courage, but also the result of collective wisdom when, before making an important decision, Aries allows themselves to ask questions, inquire about weaknesses, and listen to alternative points of view. This does not diminish their determination, but protects them from steps that would later come at a high price. If we combine all these characteristics into a single image, then Aries, in Nostradamus's view, looks like a person who turns natural courage into a tool of financial strategy. They do not wait for someone to give them a chance, but create situations where their competence, hard work, and ability to act under pressure become visible and necessary. The jackpot in this version is not only a sudden large income, but the result of systematic work on oneself, from controlling emotions to forming a healthy attitude towards money. And it is precisely the Aries who is able to combine energy, intelligence, and discipline who has the most reason to believe that 2026 could be a time when their financial opportunities reach a new level, and each successful decision reinforces the next. Taurus. In 2026, Taurus will look like a person who will long and patiently build the bricks of their financial stability, and then suddenly find themselves in a situation where one successful step will have the effect of winning the jackpot. In stories about Nostradamus, there are often images of people who accumulate resources for years. Do not rush into extremes, but at one moment seem to open a hidden safe. Taurus will belong to this type. In 2026, their persistence, attention to detail, and ability to stand on solid ground will create the conditions for a financial leap that will be similar in scale to winning a big money game. The strength of this sign, in terms of money, will manifest itself through specifics. In 2026, Taurus will value not promises, but numbers, not dreams, but contracts, not fantasies, but clear conditions. They will move forward slowly but surely, while others are nervous about market fluctuations, news, or panic in their surroundings. During this period, representatives of this sign will be ready to work with reality, checking facts, comparing offers, bargaining, and negotiating. Their weak point will remain the same: stubbornness and unwillingness to change their usual strategy, even if it no longer leads to growth. If Taurus gets stuck in the "I've always done it this way" mindset in 2026, they will miss out on opportunities that appear on the horizon. But if they allow themselves to update their approach, the jackpot will seem not like a miracle, but like a logical result. In January, Taurus will have the perfect moment to put their finances in order. They will open all their accounts, look at the real amounts of debts and obligations, calculate income and expenses, and form an honest picture of what is happening with their money. It will be a month of review, from subscriptions that are no longer needed to spontaneous expenses that eat up a significant part of the budget. If in January Taurus draws up a basic financial plan for the year, sets goals, breaks them down into monthly amounts, and clears up the chaos, they will create a platform from which a big leap will become realistic. If they ignore this period and leave everything as is, even favorable opportunities later in the year will pass them by. In February, they will focus on the topic of income. This will be the time when Taurus begins to ask themselves honestly, how much is their work actually worth? Where are they underpaid? Where are they working in the red of their own energy? They will review the terms of cooperation, look for additional sources of income, and test new formats, side jobs, consulting, small services, and selling their skills online. The February mood will give them the impetus to say no to cheap work that offers no prospects, and yes to areas where there is growth potential. It is in February that they will sow the first seeds of what will look like a big win at the end of the year. March will be a month of learning and expanding their skills. Taurus will read more about finance, watch analytics, take courses, and listen to those who already have strong results. They will learn to understand basic investment instruments so as not to be swayed by attractive promises. This does not mean that they will immediately invest money somewhere. Rather, they will develop the mindset of someone who is capable of working with capital, not just a salary. In March, Taurus will practice asking the right questions. What is the risk? What is the real return? What are the guarantees? How much time will it take? These questions will protect him from financial mistakes that could ruin any jackpot opportunity. In April, Taurus will move on to more active action. They will begin to apply the knowledge they have gained, changing the way they save money, dividing accounts into mandatory expenses, reserves, and development, and setting limits on emotional purchases. They will plan large purchases not from the position of, I want it now, but from the position of, I can afford it without stress. During this period, Taurus will learn to distinguish between healthy risk and recklessness. For example, if they want to try their luck in the lottery, they will only use a small amount of money that they have set aside in advance from their entertainment budget, and will not touch the money allocated for bills, rent, business, or education. May will be a month when Taurus will strengthen their position. They will be more active in negotiating with management or clients for better terms, higher pay, and a more favorable format for cooperation. They will pay closer attention to the text of contracts, checking each point, not afraid to ask for time to think before signing. For this sign, May 2026 will be like a gathering point. Everything they did in winter and early spring will start to come together, and their income will become more stable. In June, Taurus will test scaling. If they have discovered additional income, they will think about how to make it more regular. If they have increased their value at work, they will look for ways to convert this into bonuses, rewards, and promotions. At this time, they will be attentive to contacts. New people who appear in their life may play an important role in accessing more money. Taurus will learn to establish partnerships where both sides win, not just one. July will bring questions of balance. Taurus will feel tired from constant tension, but this is where wisdom will be needed. They will not spend everything on vacations that destroy their budget, but instead will plan their recovery so as not to break their financial goals. Vacations, short trips, small pleasures, all of this will remain, but within reasonable limits. In July, they will learn to earn money in a way that leaves them with the energy to live, rather than turning the pursuit of money into an exhausting race. This approach will be an important safeguard. When Taurus takes care of their health, nerves, and concentration, they will not rush into emotional decisions such as, I'll bet a large amount to quickly win back my losses, or I'll invest in the first scheme I come across because I want everything at once. August will be a month of quiet, which will work in their favor. While some people will only think about relaxation, Taurus will quietly tweak their financial instruments, set up automatic payments, review rates, optimize regular expenses, and look for more favorable terms on familiar services. These will not be heroic steps, but they will free up additional funds for him. In August, he will get rid of the unnecessary, unwanted subscriptions, season tickets, things that can be sold so as not to keep dead weight. This is how Taurus will prepare the ground for events that, from a financial point of view, will be like a sharp jump. In September, the focus will shift to strategy. Taurus will compare the results of the first 8 months with the plans he set for himself at the beginning of the year. He will adjust his goals, taking into account where unexpected expenses have arisen and where, on the contrary, new sources of income have opened up. It is in September that they will be ready to make informed decisions about more serious steps: changing jobs, starting their own business, or concluding a major deal. They will not rush into this from scratch. On the contrary, all the previous months will prepare them so that in September they will have enough knowledge, experience, and financial cushion. October will be a time for negotiations and major agreements. During this period, Taurus will be able to insist on their terms because they will have something to back them up: results, figures, and work already done. If they run their own business or are self-employed, they will close deals that bring one-time large payments or long-term contracts with good rates. If they are an employee, October will be a good time to discuss a raise, a transfer to another position, or a reformatting of their schedule so that they have more time for additional activities. This is where that jackpot feeling comes in. One deal or one change in status can dramatically increase income. In November, Taurus will be working on the theme of responsibility. As money becomes more abundant, the temptation to spend it haphazardly will also grow. He will be faced with a choice: to allow himself everything that was previously forbidden or to continue to increase his capital. November will teach them to distinguish between "I want it right now" and "it will be good for me in a year or two." If they choose the second option, they will be able to turn a one-time stroke of luck or a large fee into a long-term resource, reserves, investments, and assets that will work for them. December will be a month of internal reflection without loud statements. Taurus will look at 2026 not as a short burst of luck, but as a year in which he builds a different level of life. He will see how his attitude towards money changes. Less fear, less feeling of scarcity, more understanding that money is a tool, not an idol. If they act consistently throughout the year, it will be in December that they will feel that the scale of the changes is very similar to winning a big game. Debts will be reduced, income will remain at a higher level, and confidence in tomorrow will grow. All this will be possible thanks to specific triggers in Taurus's behavior. He will learn to say no to people who try to shift their financial problems onto him. He will stop lending money to those who never pay it back, and he will stop pulling other people's projects that rely solely on his resources. They will create an environment where their time, competence, and contribution are respected. They will choose their circle of friends so that there are more people around them who are growing than those who are constantly complaining. This environment will inspire, set examples, and generate ideas. The risks of 2026 for Taurus will be primarily related to inertia. If he clings to an unprofitable job solely out of fear of change, he will miss opportunities when the market opens doors for him. If he puts off uncomfortable conversations about money, he will be the one setting a ceiling on his income. If they buy things to prove their importance to someone, they will dissolve their potential jackpot in status purchases. The safeguard here is simple. Every time they feel the urge to spend a large amount of money, Taurus will ask themselves, "Why do I really need this?" And, "Does this bring me closer to my big financial goals?" An important support will be their attitude to risk. In 2026, Taurus will not go all in. They will choose a model of part of the income, in safe instruments, part, in development, a small part, in experiments and entertainment. It is this approach that will allow them to try new opportunities without the threat of destroying the foundation. They will not take out loans based on emotions, nor will they invest all their savings in one venture, even if it looks attractive. Such caution will not prevent them from growing. On the contrary, it will give them the freedom to test options, knowing that their foundation is secure. As a result, 2026 will look like a path for Taurus, where big money comes to those who know how to meet it. The imaginary jackpot in his life will not come by chance, but from a combination of patience, hard work, thoughtful decisions, and a refusal to self-destruct. And when, at the end of the year, they look at their accounts, level of spending, quality of life, and inner confidence, they will be able to honestly say to themselves that 2026 will be the period when their attitude toward money will change forever, and the feeling that a big win is possible will cease to be a fantasy and become a new standard. Gemini. For Gemini, 2026 will be a year when their mind, speech, and ability to work with information will directly translate into money. In astrological tradition, this sign is associated with instant decisions, quick switches, intellectual games, and the ability to be in the right place at the right time. Therefore, it is not surprising that in stories about Nostradamus as a symbol of foresight, it is Gemini who are often associated with the plot of unexpected big wins. Where others read tons of rules and doubt, they will already understand the logic of the process, determine the odds, and accurately take advantage of the opportunity. In 2026, this sign will combine lightness of thought with a rather pragmatic approach to finances, and it is this combination that will create the feeling that something big, comparable to a jackpot, is appearing on the horizon. The nature of Gemini in the sphere of money will not be unambiguous. On the one hand, they will have a natural talent for seeing trends before others, analyzing information very quickly, and understanding where someone is exaggerating and where they are hiding important details. On the other hand, they will be prone to distraction, switching between several tasks without completing any of them. Throughout 2026, much will depend on whether Gemini can translate their multitasking into a systematic model where each of their steps has a place, a number, and a goal. If they continue to chaotically grab at 10 directions, even favorable moments will dissolve into disorder. If they build a structure, reality itself will begin to throw them combinations of events similar to winning a big money game. In January, Gemini will tune their internal financial antenna. This month will be favorable for them to sit down at a table with a laptop or notebook and honestly describe their current situation, where the money comes from, where it goes, which sources of income no longer correspond to their level, and which, on the contrary, have potential. Gemini will divide everything they do into 3 categories: things that will bring real returns, things that take away energy without any chance of growth, and things that can be scaled up. An important step in January will be to get rid of the unnecessary side jobs that they keep only because of the fear of being left without money, projects where their talent is underestimated, contacts who constantly ask for help and give nothing in return. February will be a month of conversations, agreements, and bold requests for Gemini. They will begin to test their voice on the subject of money. They will be ready to talk openly about payment, justify figures, and argue their value. Gemini will approach management with proposals, reach out to new clients, and present themselves on social media as specialists, not just as jack of all trades. This month, they will begin to realize that winning the jackpot is not always a random amount from a lottery ticket, but can be a serious contract, grant, large deal, bonus, or a combination of several sources of income that suddenly add up to an impressive total amount. March will intensify the informational aspect. Gemini will immerse themselves in financial analytics, learn about new income-generating tools, and follow changes in the labor market, trends in online business, marketing, and freelancing. They will read case studies of people who have reached a completely different level of income in a short period of time and extract practical elements from these stories. At this time, they will actively gather new skills bit by bit, monetizing knowledge, creating digital products, launching consultations, setting up advertising, and working with audiences. It is important that they will not rush into the first niche that comes along. Instead, they will test several areas, but with a more careful approach to numbers and time. April will be a time of active starts. Gemini will begin to launch what they planned in winter: new services, channels, products, and collaborations. They will enter into partnerships and participate in collaborations where their voice, ideas, and ability to persuade and explain complex things in simple terms will be key. In terms of finances, April will be a month when it will be extremely important for Gemini to carefully read all the terms and conditions, the fine print in contracts, deadlines, penalties, interest rates, and additional obligations. It will be useful for them to remember that the real jackpot will not require them to give everything away or take on more than they can physically handle. May will bring increased momentum. Gemini will have more contacts, offers, and requests. Money will start to move more actively. More frequent payments, new clients, one-time fees, ideas that will monetize faster than in previous years. An important task in May will be the ability to distinguish between truly important offers and noise. Gemini will learn to say yes only where they see an opportunity for growth, rather than just receiving a small one-time sum. They will have to stay away from risky ventures where everything is based on emotions and promises of quick enrichment. Even if they want to try their luck at the lottery or other legal forms of entertainment, they will do so within a clearly defined budget, without exceeding the amount they can easily afford to lose. June will reinforce the theme of structure. Gemini will notice that without a system, even the most profitable period can turn into chaos, where money comes and goes without leaving a sense of real breakthrough. Therefore, in June, they will introduce simple rules. Part of each income will go into reserves, part will go toward development, and part will go toward living expenses. They will start tracking how much time they spend on different activities and compare this with the income from each area. This month, they will make an important discovery. Some things that promised great prospects in practice take a lot of effort and yield minimal results, while others, seemingly not very ambitious, actually provide a stable cash flow. July will be a test of their ability to manage their energy. Gemini will feel that life is bustling around them. Events, acquaintances, projects, trips, opportunities. They will want to be everywhere, talk to everyone, and dive into every topic. However, in July, it is very important that they leave room in their schedule for analysis and recovery. If they do not allow themselves any breaks, the risk of emotional exhaustion, spontaneous purchases, and ill-considered financial decisions will increase dramatically. Therefore, smart Gemini will include days without large expenses, days for reviewing their budget, and days for calm planning in their schedule. This will protect them from situations where one impulsive action will negate several months of effort. In August, Gemini will feel an increased internal demand for scale. They will think not only about how to earn more, but also about how to reach a new level of quality of life, change their home, upgrade their appliances, invest in education, and expand their travel opportunities. During this period, it is especially important that these desires do not turn into a pursuit of ostentation. If Gemini directs their energy not toward impressing others with expensive purchases, but toward increasing their own efficiency, August could be a month of key decisions that will lay the foundation for a future jackpot breakthrough. For example, they will be able to purchase tools for work, undergo specialized training, and change the format of their activities to a more flexible and profitable one. September will open up opportunities for strategic thinking for Gemini. They will have enough facts to draw conclusions. Which areas are working and which need to be cut off? Which habits support growth and which hinder it? At this time, they will be able to review their financial model with a cool head. Some will decide to give up salaried work and become self-employed, while others will seek a more stable position with a high fixed salary in order to have a base from which to launch their own projects in their free time. It is in September that Gemini will lay the groundwork for events where several independent sources of income will be able to come together at a certain point to create a win effect, when the total amount in a short period of time will be significantly higher than anything they had before. October will lead up to the culminating financial events of the year. Gemini will enter into agreements that will require responsibility, but will provide an opportunity for significant income. They will work with documents, contracts, and legal aspects, and this is where their ability to quickly navigate complex situations will come into play. It is very important that they do not allow anyone to rush them with phrases like "sign now," because later it will be too late. In October, Gemini will have the right to take time to check the conditions, consult with experts, and read everything several times. Mature representatives of this sign will do just that, turning their ability to think quickly into the ability to make informed decisions that will open the door to large sums of money. November will focus on inner maturity in dealing with money. As their income grows, Gemini will feel the urge to celebrate, buy something they have long wanted, give gifts to loved ones, change their style, and allow themselves additional pleasures. There is nothing wrong with this, but in November, it will be especially important for them to maintain a balance between enjoying life and taking a responsible approach to the future. If they immediately spend everything they earn, their Gemini-style happiness will be short-lived. If they leave part of their funds in reserves, investments, and development projects, they will be able to consolidate the achievements of the year and create conditions for even more powerful leaps forward. December will lead Gemini to understand that 2026 will be a stage for them when the feeling of randomness in money will be replaced by a feeling of control. They will see how their ability to work with information, communicate, negotiate, and sell ideas through words and arguments will gradually turn into specific amounts in their accounts. For many Gemini, this year will be the one when they stop treating money as something unstable and capricious and start perceiving it as a logical consequence of actions, habits, and decisions. It is in the final stretch of the year that they will feel that their financial life resembles winning a complex intellectual game, where the main advantage is not random numbers, but a clear head, a flexible mind, and cold analysis. All this does not mean that Gemini will be free of risks. The biggest threat is information overload. In 2026, they will be inundated with so many offers, opinions, predictions, and advice that it will sometimes be difficult for them to distinguish the essence from the noise. If they try to be everywhere, read everything, and listen to every opinion, they risk losing their focus and making decisions in a state of confusion. Therefore, they will need to limit the flow of information. Choose a few authoritative sources, a few people whose competence they respect, and base their actions on structured information rather than a chaotic stream. Another danger is a tendency toward excitement. A quick mind and a love of intellectual challenges can tempt Gemini to play with money, invest in risky instruments, try dubious schemes, dive into areas where everything seems exciting and profitable, but legally opaque. In 2026, it will be important for them to stay within the bounds of legal, transparent formats, avoid grey areas, and not get involved in situations that require concealing facts, cunning schemes, or circumventing the law. The real win for them will be not only a large sum of money, but also peace of mind. The understanding that everything they have will not be destroyed by a single audit or change in the rules. The main advantage of Gemini this year will be their ability to turn mental flexibility into a financial strategy. They will combine creativity with logic, quick thinking with the ability to ask the right questions, and ease of communication with the ability to defend their interests. If they do not allow themselves to get lost in the chaos, do not react to every trigger, and keep their main goals in focus. 2026 will bring them sums that previously seemed unattainable. For some, it will be one successful contract. For others, the cumulative effect of several strong months when income will exceed the usual level several times over. As a result, Gemini will emerge from 2026 with a new worldview, where money will no longer be a capricious guest, but will become a partner. They will know that it is their way of thinking, their words, and their willingness to learn that will make them candidates for the conditional jackpot. And instead of waiting for an opportunity, they will create situations in which their energy, intelligence, and courage will work as a complex combination in a game that can bring big wins to those who know how to play it right. Cancer. In 2026, Cancer will be accompanied by a radical change in attitude towards money. From an anxious attachment to stability, it will move to conscious management of large sums. Legends about Nostradamus always feature people who live frugally for a long time, but suddenly find themselves in a completely different financial situation in a certain year. This will be especially true for Cancer. A sign that usually hides its ambitions behind caring for loved ones will come to the fore in 2026, thanks to its ability to create security. Not only emotional, but also material. Their path to the jackpot will be built not on risky leaps, but on a deep review of all financial habits, connections, and decisions. Cancer's main strength will be their ability to sense trends not through dry numbers, but through the atmosphere, people's moods, and changes in the temperature of the environment. In matters of money, this will give them a significant advantage. Even before something becomes obvious, they will already sense where to intensify their efforts and where to scale back their activity. At the same time, their weak spot will remain in the realm of fears. In 2026, Cancer will often be afraid of losing what they have, and it is this fear that can become a brake at a time when life begins to offer great opportunities. They will have to learn to distinguish where caution works for them and where it becomes a block that blocks the path to significant money. In January, Cancer will be forced to face the reality of their expenses. It will be a month when all the small financial holes suddenly become visible. Unconscious subscriptions, regular payments, small purchases to please themselves, helping those who systematically do not return money. If Cancer sits down in January and writes down in detail who they pay, how much, and for what, they will be surprised by the scale of the sums that go nowhere. During this period, the key task will be an honest audit, without self-blame, but with maximum clarity. They will give up the unnecessary, rearrange their priorities, pay off debts that have been dragging on for years, and bring their financial space out of chaos and into order. It is in January that the foundation for future big wins, both financial and psychological, will begin to form. February will give Cancer a chance to rethink their relationship with work and earnings. This month, they will be particularly sensitive to where they are underappreciated, where they are paid for their silent habit rather than for their actual contribution. An inner desire to assert their needs will emerge, to ask for a raise, to set clearer terms of cooperation, to adjust the scope of responsibilities. Cancer will understand that they will not be able to claim the jackpot if they continue to agree to the role of a modest worker in the shadows. In February, they will begin to practice a new position, the position of a person who respects their work and is ready to talk about it openly, with arguments, figures, and facts. March will be a month when the topic of knowledge comes to the fore. Cancer will feel that they lack financial literacy, and this will be their motivation to learn. They will read about taxation systems, accounts, ways to save money, and basic investment instruments. Not to immediately dive into complex schemes, but to not be afraid of words like contract, interest, risk, and diversification. In March, Cancer will take the first steps towards ceasing to live by the model of better to put everything under the mattress so as not to lose it, and will begin to understand how to make money work for them without turning life into a constant game with danger. In April, Cancer's focus will shift to the environment in which they operate. They will look closely at the people with whom they discuss money, their behavior patterns, habits, and attitude toward responsibility. Cancer will begin to notice that alongside those who constantly complain about a lack of funds, love easy schemes, and do not keep their word, financial opportunities seem to melt away. Conversely, people who work systematically, respect the work of others, and make clear agreements will have more offers, projects, and honest deals. In April, Cancer will adjust their social circle, limiting access to those who drag them down and opening up to those who are capable of showing a different level of play. May will be a period when Cancer will begin to test themselves in new formats of earning money. They will go beyond the single model of monthly salary and look for additional sources of income: consulting, freelancing, small personal services, monetizing hobbies. Importantly, they will not try to do everything at once. Their strategy will be built around what they already know how to do well: caring, organizing, creating comfort, working with people who need support. In May, he will feel that reality is testing his readiness to expand his financial horizons. Someone will offer him a side job. Someone will ask him for help in exchange for money. Someone will recommend him to others. Here, it will be important not to be afraid to charge fair compensation for his work. June will immerse Cancer in the topic of long-term goals. He will understand that a big win only makes sense when there is a strategy behind it. Therefore, in June, he will sit down and write down exactly what he wants to get in terms of money. Not just an abstract "a lot," but specific amounts for specific goals: housing, a reserve fund, education, family security, the ability to help parents or children. This month, they will create a system of priorities for themselves. What is more important now? What can wait? And what is not worth investing resources in at all? This process itself will be an energy magnet for money. When Cancer clearly understands why they need large sums, space will be more willing to open wider doors for them. In July, the topic of emotional spending will come to the fore. This will be a month when Cancer will feel a particularly strong temptation to compensate for stress with purchases, travel, and gifts. They will want to please themselves and their loved ones, which is natural. But in July, it will be important to draw a line between healthy joys and financial self-sabotage. If they start buying things that are beyond their means just to temporarily relieve anxiety, they risk ending the year with an impressive movement of funds, but without real growth. If Cancer learns to catch the moment when emotion pushes him to impulsive spending and pause for at least one night, July will be the point where he stops dissolving his chances for big money in short-term pleasures. August will push Cancer to rethink the topic of debts, loans, and financial obligations. It will be a month when they will be able to soberly see how much of their energy goes into servicing past decisions. In August, they will not take on new obligations if the old ones are not yet completed. On the contrary, they will focus on closing as many old loose ends as possible. This could be a loan, a debt to friends, or an unfinished project for which they still feel guilty. The more Cancer clears up their financial space in August, the easier it will be for them to take on a sum that is symbolically comparable to a jackpot without feeling that it is falling on their head when the foundation is still shaky. September will open up the topic of professional reputation for Cancer. They will see how their ability to keep their word, fulfill their promises on time, meet deadlines, and not disappear in difficult moments will begin to monetize. It is in September that those very big deals, partners, clients, or employers may appear who are willing to pay not for pretty words, but for a history of real responsibility. It is important here that Cancer does not devalue his path. Everything he has done before, working nights, extra effort, supporting others, will suddenly begin to pay dividends. In September, he will learn to accept high fees without feeling guilty, because this is where the psychological readiness for large sums is laid. October will reinforce the theme of legal purity. Cancer will sign documents, renew contracts, and possibly enter into new formal relationships, changing the form of employment, registering activities, opening accounts for business. Every piece of paper in October will matter. If they are attentive, read everything to the end, consult with lawyers or more experienced acquaintances. No deal will become a trap. It is during this period that they will secure the right to transparent income, and this will be a key moment. Big money will come where there is no need to fear audits or rule changes. November will bring up the topic of how to split up the money they get. A big payout, a profitable contract, an unexpected bonus, or a few strong months could bring Cancer a sum that's way different from what they're used to. November will show whether they are capable of managing this money like an adult. Here, they will divide the money they receive into several parts, protecting the future, reserves, investments in stable instruments, strengthening the present, repairs, education, health, family needs, and satisfaction, travel, gifts, personal dreams. If Cancer spends the entire amount in one place, for example, buying a status item to prove something to those around them, the effect of the year will quickly come to nothing. If they allocate the funds wisely, this month will be a real turning point in their financial history. December will give Cancer the opportunity to see how they have changed. They will remember how fearful they were of money at the beginning of the year and compare this with the state in which they will meet new cycles. In December, Cancer will be able to talk about large sums of money calmly, without excitement or panic. They will see how their decisions over the months, from the January audit to the November distribution, have had an effect comparable to winning a big money game. This will not be a single lucky day, but the result of learning not to skimp on self-development, stopping spending on destructive things, and starting to build their own security system. The risks of 2026 for Cancer will be primarily related to their emotionality. They will be vulnerable to other people's stories about urgent help, profitable opportunities only today, and the last chance to invest. If they start making financial decisions based on compassion rather than analysis, they will risk giving away a significant portion of their potential winnings to those who know how to push their buttons. Therefore, it is important that at such moments he has a rule. No large sums on the fly. No signatures on emotions, no search for salvation in dubious financial stories. Another danger is escaping from money into everyday life. Cancer can compensate for internal tension with endless household chores, repairs, shopping, decorating, minor interior changes. All this seems innocent, but when, during such a period, space is preparing opportunities for a financial breakthrough, immersion in everyday life only distracts attention from strategic decisions. Therefore, in 2026, Cancer will learn to balance the desire to make their home cozy with the need to defend their interests in the outside world. The real value of this year will be inner growth. Cancer will stop seeing money as something dangerous or foreign territory and start seeing it as part of their own responsibility. They'll understand that a big sum, comparable to a jackpot, won't go to the one who dreams the loudest, but to the one who pays the most attention to every penny in all the other months. And it is precisely this Cancer, observant, attentive to detail, honest with themselves, ready to defend their interests as zealously as they always defend their loved ones, who will have every reason to consider 2026 as the period when their financial history will take a leap to a completely different scale. Leo. For Leo, money in 2026 will not just be numbers, but a confirmation of his scale, talent, and inner power. In stories about Nostradamus, there will often be references to people who will take center stage and receive rewards that far exceed their previous standard of living. This is exactly the image that Leo will approach this year. His natural charisma, ability to attract attention, and ability to create an atmosphere of importance and celebration around himself will turn into a resource that will open the way to large sums of money, similar to a jackpot. But the key will be how he manages this power, rather than allowing it to lead him toward wastefulness and ostentation. In 2026, Leo will demonstrate a striking combination of confidence, ambition, and a desire to leave a mark. He will not settle for a supporting role, especially when it comes to money. At the same time, his character will retain the temptation to spend for the sake of impression, for the sake of image, in order to prove to himself and others that he is worthy of an expensive life. This will be their weak spot. If Leos allow their ego to control their financial decisions, they will turn a potential win into a short-lived fireworks display, after which only ashes will remain. If, on the other hand, they force their ego to work for their strategy, rather than the other way around, they will enter into situations where one successful year will change everything that came before. In January, Leo will ask himself direct questions. How much does he really want to earn? What role will he play in work or business? What kind of people will sit with him at the same financial table? This will be a month of standards. He will not be satisfied with the formula as long as it's enough, because he will feel that his potential is much higher. Leo will review their professional roles. In some cases, they will be working below their level. In others, they will be taking on too much without adequate compensation. In January, they will make an internal decision to raise the bar, not to agree to cheap projects, not to sell their time cheaply, not to waste energy where there are no prospects. This month, they will shape their image as a high-level player, and this image will begin to attract more money, more deals, and a different circle of acquaintances. February will be a period of negotiations and declared ambitions for Leo. They will initiate conversations about promotions, new positions, larger budgets, and more favorable terms of cooperation. His speech will become clearer. Instead of general phrases about value, he will show results, figures, achievements, and specific examples of where his participation has been beneficial. This month, his ability to influence people will be particularly evident. Charisma, confidence, a strong voice, and accurate arguments will all work in his favor. Importantly, in February, Leo will not ask, he will offer. He will propose options for cooperation where both sides will win, but his share will correspond to the level of resources invested. In March, Leo will expand his competencies related to publicity and influence management. He will learn to sell not only the product, but also himself as a brand. He will work on his personal style, speech, presentation, and online presence. There will be an opportunity to develop skills in public speaking, working in front of the camera, maintaining social media pages, and creating content that will attract attention. For Leo, this will be a critically important investment. It is thanks to his ability to manage attention that he will be able to earn fees that will resemble winning a big financial game. The more professional his public image is in March, the more valuable his time will be in the future. April will be a month of initiatives. Leo will begin to launch projects that he has been carrying around for a long time. Original formats, his own services, educational products, creative or business concepts. He will wait less and act more. Instead of waiting for the right moment, he will create that moment himself. Preparing presentations, proposing ideas to partners, entering new niches. In April, it is important that Leo does not overestimate himself to the point of promising what he cannot yet deliver. Any overestimated commitment can then hurt his reputation. But if he promises only what he can realistically deliver, and does so to the best of his ability, this month will be the starting line for future big wins. In May, Leo will learn to work with a team and delegate. His natural need to control everything and be the center of attention will sometimes hinder growth. When he keeps every little thing to himself, he will not be able to expand. In May, they will be forced to admit that big money requires people, processes, and systems. They will look for assistants, partners, and contractors to take on some of the routine tasks. This will allow them to focus on the main thing: strategy, negotiations, and creative solutions that bring in the biggest fees. If he remains in the I-do-it-myself model in May, he will clip his own financial wings. June will bring Leo the topic of income structuring. He will see how money can come from several sources: main activity, parallel projects, one-time performances, sales of digital products, or the results of intellectual work. The task of the month will be to distribute these flows. Leo will open separate accounts for different purposes: taxes, reserves, investments, entertainment, and development. He will learn not to mix everything into one pot and then wonder where it all went. In June, a clear rule will emerge. Part of each amount will go to capital, not just lifestyle. It is this discipline that will allow him to maintain the jackpot effect, when large income does not dissolve into instant desires. In July, Leo will face the challenge of the temptation of a showy lifestyle. Summer, meetings, travel, invitations, parties. All this will create a backdrop where it will be very easy to spend much more than planned. Leo will want everyone to see that he is growing, he allows himself the best, he lives brightly. If they give in to this without restraint, July will be a month of financial holes. If they set budgets for leisure, entertainment, and image in advance, and do not exceed them, this month will pass without painful consequences. In July, Leo will learn to gain recognition not only through external glamour, but also through results that speak for themselves. August will give Leo a chance to step onto a bigger stage, literally or figuratively. This could be participation in large projects, reaching an international audience, working with influential clients or brands. Their name will appear alongside those they previously considered unattainable. This will be the moment when fees, Bonuses, interest, or profits can skyrocket. But at the same time, the level of responsibility will also increase. Deadlines will become tighter, requirements higher, and competition stronger. In August, Leo will train his ability not to burn out when the stakes are high. He will learn to distribute his energy so as to keep up the pace and not get caught up in emotional fluctuations that could cost him contracts. September will be a month of systemic decisions for Leo. They will review the legal and financial basis of what they have built in previous months. This may include registering a business, registering copyrights, drafting contracts under new terms, opening additional accounts, and taking out insurance. They will understand that real big money loves clean papers and transparent rules. In September, Leo will choose the format in which it will be more profitable for him to work. As a private individual, as an entrepreneur, as a partner in a joint venture, or as an expert selling his services through a business structure. This month will be important to ensure that the jackpot does not turn into problems with the law or misunderstandings with partners. October will reinforce the theme of scaling. Leo will look at their results and ask themselves, how can I make more money without endlessly increasing my working hours? They will analyze which of their products or services can be packaged, automated, or transferred to other people or tools. This will be a month of transition from the I work for every HRivnia model to a model where part of the income will come from systems that will work even when they are resting. October. For Leo will be about intellectual leverage. One successful format, one well-built funnel, one competently assembled product will bring in sums that previously seemed to be the result of incredible luck. In November, Leo will focus on preserving and multiplying what has been achieved. At this time, it will be possible to receive large payments, bonuses, interest, and complete deals involving serious sums. This is precisely the period when the topic of the jackpot will come closer to real life, when several streams, several months of hard work, and a series of successful decisions will add up to one very large number. It is important that Leo does not perceive it as extra or one time. November will require a strategic approach from him. Part of the funds will go to long-term instruments, part to income diversification, and part to personal development. If he spends the entire amount on ostentatious purchases, the feeling of winning will be bright but short-lived. If he distributes it wisely, the effect of November will last for years. December will end the year for Leo with a moment of realization of his new status. He will see how attitudes towards him have changed, on the part of clients, partners, management, and the audience. They will feel that their word in negotiations will carry more weight than ever, and their inner sense of themselves as a person with high financial standards will become stronger. In December, Leo will draw their own conclusions. Which habits led to growth? Which mistakes were costly? Which decisions are worth repeating? And which are better to abandon forever? It will be a month of quiet but powerful reassessment. They will no longer want to return to models where they have to beg for pennies or prove their worth to those who do not see it. Throughout 2026, an important condition for Leo to maintain his chance at the jackpot will be control over risky impulses. He will not be advised to take out loans for status items, get involved in schemes that promise excessively high interest rates without clear mechanisms, or lend large sums to people who do not have a reputation for being responsible. Any decision based on phrases such as, "everyone is doing it now," "this is a gold mine, don't miss out," or "you can't lose here," will be potentially dangerous. This year, Leo will win not through risky ventures, but through a combination of confidence, discipline, and a keen sense of timing. Another safeguard will be the ability to listen to those who understand finance better than they do. Leos will not always be ready to accept advice from others, especially if they feel that someone is encroaching on their authority. But if there are at least one or two people around them who can honestly say, "There is a risk here. The conditions here are unfair. You are being used here." And if they really listen to these voices, many mistakes will be prevented. In 2026, Leo will learn to distinguish between criticism that devalues and criticism that protects. The former will be rejected, the latter will be integrated into decisions. As a result, in 2026, Leo will move towards a lifestyle where money will cease to be merely a means of self-affirmation and will become a tool in a big game in which he will act as a mature strategist rather than an emotional improviser. He will make bold decisions, but with a cool head. He will take to the big stage, but with the groundwork already laid. He will receive large sums of money, but with a willingness to manage them wisely. And then the story of Leo in 2026, in any astrological format, will sound like a story about a sign that is truly approaching its financial jackpot, not by accident, but thanks to its ability to transform its own greatness into responsible, well-planned success. Virgo. In 2026, Virgo will stop hiding their analytical genius behind modesty and will behave like a financial engineer calmly preparing for a big win. She will not chase money emotionally, like other signs. On the contrary, thanks to her cold calculation, systematic approach, and ability to notice details that everyone else ignores, Virgo will bring herself to a situation where one sum will look like a jackpot. In astrological entertainment content, it is Virgo who in 2026 will personify a person who will earn money not because they are lucky, but because they will notice a number, a clause in a contract, a trend, or a signal in the market at the right time and use it better than others. This sign will combine a rare set of qualities when it comes to money: attentiveness, rationality, work ethic, and realistic thinking. Virgo will not spend money on empty glamour and will not be interested in proving anything through status purchases. They will think in terms of usefulness, stability, and long-term results. Her weakness will lie elsewhere. In 2026, Virgo will occasionally set such high standards for herself that she will postpone the start until she has perfected the system. It is this perfectionist break that may prevent her from taking advantage of opportunities that will not wait. She will have to learn to launch projects, not when everything is perfect, but when it is good enough for the market. In January, Virgo will organize her finances with the precision of an accountant and the coldness of an auditor. She will calculate her income, expenses, debts, subscriptions, and mandatory payments and see the real picture. This month, Virgo will create a basic financial model for the year. She will determine the minimum acceptable level of income, the desired level, and the ambitious bar she will strive for. She will break down large goals into monthly amounts and write down which sources of income will bring in what. In January, they will not chase instant results. Their task will be to make an accurate diagnosis. Only then will they see how much money is leaking through small habits, random online purchases, unnecessary services, excessive savings on important things, and paradoxical generosity on unnecessary things. In February, Virgo will persistently rethink her financial style. She will stop agreeing to the role of a quiet performer who can always be paid less because she does not object. In relationships with employers, clients, and partners, she will move from a position of "I'll do as you say" to a position of "I offer this value for this payment." February's conversations about money will be clear, structured, and without unnecessary emotions. Virgo will prepare for each of them by gathering arguments, specific results, examples of savings or growth that she has achieved, growth figures, reviews, and case studies. Her voice will not be loud, but it will be influential. Calm confidence plus facts will do the trick. March will be a month of professional calibration. Virgo will learn to monetize not only their main specialty, but also secondary skills. The ability to systematize, write instructions, control quality, train others, and set up processes. They will begin to see that their natural inclination for order is a resource for which the market is willing to pay separately. March will be favorable for launching additional formats, consultations, microservices, support, mentoring, and auditing. Virgo will not rush into everything at once. She will choose 1 to 2 areas where she can deliver impeccable results and will begin to gradually increase her turnover. In April, projects that have been lying in the drawer for a long time will come to the fore. Virgo will realize that for years she has been putting off ideas that could have made money. Her own original products, useful checklists, templates, methodologies, small training courses, services, organizational solutions. In April, she will finally begin to bring this to life. She will structure the content, format it in a way that people will want to pay for, and test the first sales. It is extremely important that Virgo stops being afraid to show her work to the world before it is, in her opinion, without a single mistake. This month will be a training ground for moving from perfectionism to productivity. May will reinforce the theme of partnerships. Virgo will cautiously but purposefully seek out people with whom she can combine her structured mind and their strengths. Charisma, access to an audience, resource contacts, sales skills. She will not enter into alliances for the sake of sympathy. She will be interested in transparent, mutually beneficial agreements. May will be a period when she will define roles, responsibilities, shares, terms, and rules for exiting the partnership before it even begins. It is thanks to this meticulousness that Virgo will protect herself from scenarios where someone takes advantage of her competencies and takes most of the profit. In June, Virgo will work on the theme of routine and productivity. She will understand that there will be no big money without consistently high quality. This is the month when she will set up her daily routine: sleep, nutrition, exercise, blocks of deep work, and time for rest. She will plan her day by the hour, divide tasks according to energy expenditure, allocate a golden window for complex tasks, and transfer routine tasks to less resource-intensive periods. In June, she will learn to protect her attention. Less social media, less meaningless conversations, less pointless correspondence. This will free up a tremendous amount of energy that she will need for a breakthrough in the second half of the year. July will raise the question of boundaries for Virgo. It is at this time that she will be asked more often to look at the documents, check the text, advise on the best course of action, and all this as a favor. If she continues to do this work for free, July will be a month of hidden burnout when she will not have enough energy for her own projects. But if she starts to honestly indicate where advice ends and a full-fledged service that must be paid for begins, the situation will change dramatically. Leo, Aries, and Scorpio often learn to ask for more, while Virgo will learn to stop giving away her professional value for free. July will be a critical point. Either her time will continue to be used, or it will start to be paid for. In August, Virgo will take on the optimization of costs and processes at a new level. She will not only cut unnecessary budget items, but also build systems that will allow her to maintain her quality of life at a lower cost. This may manifest itself in switching to more efficient services, reviewing subscriptions, changing suppliers, and switching to other, more profitable formats of cooperation. August will be the month when Virgo realizes that saving money is not about living worse, but about not paying for nonsense. Her financial literacy will grow, and every decision this month will gradually free up additional cash flow for her, which will accumulate as free capital. September will be associated with more serious financial instruments. Virgo will be ready to consider deposits, insurance programs, investment accounts, and savings products that match her level of risk tolerance. She will not rush into anything. On the contrary, she will read the terms and conditions, understand the commissions, and compare offers. September will be the month when Virgo stops keeping all her money in one basket and starts dividing it into several formats. Part will remain in a liquid reserve, part will go into conservative instruments, and part will go into development. This transition from just saving to managing will bring her much closer to what astrological forecasts call the jackpot effect. October will bring big tasks into Virgo's life. It could be a large-scale project, a big deal, a complex contract, a tender, or participation in an important long-term process. It is at this time that it will become clear why she needed all the previous months of preparation. October will require her to be perfectly organized, think systematically, and pay attention to details. Mistakes here will be costly, but Virgo will not allow this to happen. Her natural pedantry will allow her to maintain a high level of quality where others would already float away. She will not try to impress anyone with her emotions. Her trump card will be impeccably executed work, which will bring her a reputation as a person capable of handling complex and highly paid projects. November will amplify the effect of the results. This period may see a peak in payments, fees, bonuses, and profits from the decisions Virgo will make a year earlier. In entertaining astrological stories, this month can easily be described as a time when money will suddenly come together in one large sum. In reality, Virgo's renewed financial scale will not be a coincidence, but an accumulated effect. Every contract, every project, every hard-earned document, every rejected free request, all of this will add up to a large number. November will be a test. Will she be able to handle this amount like an adult, without hysterics, like, well, now I can relax and squander it all? In December, Virgo will smile a completely different smile. The smile of a person who has proven to herself that her calm mind, structure, and discipline can lead to a result comparable to a jackpot. She will make plans no longer from the position of how to survive, but from the position of how to optimally distribute growing capital. She will allow herself more, something for the home, something for loved ones, something for personal dreams, but not as an escape from reality, but as a logical use of part of her resources. December will be the month when Virgo finally accustoms herself to the idea that big money is not something foreign to her, but a natural result of her lifestyle, thinking, and work. The risks of 2026 for Virgo will be hidden not in the outside world, but in her own head. The first is excessive criticism. She will be inclined to devalue her achievements, distorting them in the style of, "It's nothing special. Anyone could have done it. I could have done better." If she does not stop this inner voice, even after receiving large sums of money, she will feel as if she still does not deserve it, and subconsciously, she will get rid of the money through strange expenses, unprofitable actions, or spontaneous help to those who do not appreciate it. The second risk is the fear of mistakes. It will force her to delay the start, not agree to profitable deals, because she is not ready yet. Not everything has been thought through yet. She still needs to learn more. If Virgo does not set herself a rule to act with what she already has, she will miss opportunities that were created specifically for her level. The third risk is escaping into trivialities. In difficult moments, Virgo will seek to calm down by doing something minor, rearranging files in folders, redesigning a table, rephrasing a sentence in a letter 100 times. At a time when she needs to take one bold step, send a proposal, announce a price, confirm participation in a serious project, she will risk hiding behind activities that create the illusion of movement without results. She will need to strictly catch these moments and remind herself the jackpot in 2026 will come not from perfect order in her files, but from specific decisions that will take her to another financial level. Virgo's most important advantage in 2026 will be her ability to transform any chaotic field into a structured mechanism that will bring not only stability, but also super profits. She will prepare the ground, check the details, test the systems, build the logic, and thanks to this, one day she will see an amount in her account that will be radically different from all previous years. This amount will look like a jackpot in an entertainment format, but for her, it will be proof that attentiveness, discipline, and a smart strategy are worth much more than loud promises of quick enrichment. And in 2026, Virgo will move in this direction, toward big money, which will come to those who know how to manage every hryvnia with the precision of a master. Libra. In 2026, Libras will cease to be observers of their own financial history and will begin to manage it as skillfully as they usually manage relationships and balance in life. The image of Nostradamus with his mysterious quatrains will be associated here not with the chaos of prophecies, but with a very accurate hit at the moment when one person's choice suddenly changes their material reality. This year, Libras will face a series of financial crossroads, and their decision to say yes or no will determine whether they get closer to a jackpot-like sum or remain in their usual comfortable but modest range. Libra's financial profile in 2026 will be based on a combination of two opposing trends. On the one hand, there is a keen sense of justice, ethics, mutually beneficial agreements, and the ability to build equal partnerships. On the other hand, there is a habit of weighing all the pros and cons for too long, a fear of ruining relationships by talking directly about money, and a tendency to remain in the role of a pleasant partner whom everyone loves but does not necessarily pay well. In 2026, the transition from "I am valued as a person" to "I am valued as a specialist and partner," and this is confirmed by the figures in the contracts, will become a fundamental moment for Libras. It is this internal reformatting that will open the door to large sums of money for them. In January, Libras will be paying close attention to how they start the year. It will be a month of honest financial dialogue with themselves. Which sources of income will remain? Which ones should be closed? Where their role has long outgrown the current payment. They will not act abruptly, but will very clearly identify where they feel internal discomfort when it comes to money. In January, Libras will make a list of situations in which their contribution is underestimated. Clients who have been paying out of inertia for years, partners who take advantage of their loyalty, employers who are used to Libras not causing conflict. This will be the starting point, not for scandals, but for future calm and very specific conversations. In February, Libras will learn to talk about money out loud. This is the period when they will begin to raise issues that they have been putting off for years, reviewing rates, commissions, interest, fees, and bonuses. Their strength will lie in their ability to present everything diplomatically, without ultimatums, but at the same time clearly. Libras will not demand "because I want it." They will show what they are doing, how much time and effort they are putting in, and what results they are achieving. In February, They will allow themselves for the first time to say the numbers that they previously considered too high for themselves. This step will be decisive. As long as Libras are shy about their financial requests, no symbolic jackpot will come their way. March will be a month of active networking for Libras. They will enter new professional circles, interact more with people who work with higher budgets, attend events where large projects are discussed, and communicate with those who have long gone beyond modest stability. This will be a time when Libras will stop perceiving large sums of money as something from another reality. They will see how those who are no better or worse than them in terms of abilities are already working in a completely different financial segment. March will be a month of shifting boundaries. The limitations that were in their heads will begin to break down under the pressure of real examples. In April, Libras will be particularly attentive to the details in contracts. It is at this time that their natural gift for noticing nuances and sensing where conditions are unfair will become a key defense against unfavorable situations. They will reread every clause, deadlines, penalties, additional responsibilities, and wording that could be used against them. Where they may have been shy about pointing out inconsistencies in the past, in April, they will begin to calmly and reasonably ask for corrections. This will not only save them money, but also create a reputation as someone who cannot be fooled by the fine print. And it is precisely this reputation that will attract larger, more serious, and more honest deals. May will be a period of testing Libras' ability to say no. They will be invited more often to projects with many promises and few guarantees, called into questionable partnerships, and offered roles that sound prestigious but are not financially justified. Libras will undergo a kind of test. Are they ready to give up what is not confirmed by a specific benefit? In May, this sign will begin to filter out unnecessary activities, close, friendly collaborations where they have long since become a free consultant, and focus on what can give a clear financial result within a reasonable time frame. June will push Libras to talk to themselves about risk. During this period, they will think more often about tools such as investments, new areas of activity, and changes in the format of their work. June will not be a month of leaps into the unknown. On the contrary, it will stimulate cautious but decisive analysis. Libras will ask themselves, what am I willing to put on the line? What percentage of my income can I allocate to experiments without compromising my basic security? They will create a framework for themselves. What part of their budget can be invested in new opportunities without getting into loans, debts, or dependence on random wins? It is this internal financial discipline that will make their position strong when real, interesting opportunities arise. In July, Libras will work on their personal brand. In an entertaining astrological format, it will look like a month when they shine themselves with the light of great opportunities. They will update their social media profiles, portfolios, and presentations, emphasize their strongest cases, and collect feedback. An important moment will be the transition from a neutral image of a pleasant person to that of a specialist with whom people want to work and for whom they are willing to pay more. In July, every post, every conversation, every public appearance of Libras will either strengthen their financial magnetism or weaken it. And they will quickly feel this in the number of offers and the quality of contacts. August for Libras will be a period of reviewing internal agreements in couples, families, and close relationships. It is in these areas that the true financial scenario of the sign is often hidden. Who is responsible for what? Who makes decisions? Who pays what price? In August, Libras will analyze whether they are taking on excessive financial responsibility, Whether there are situations where their partner, relatives, or colleagues are used to Libras somehow solving everything, they will begin to even out the balance, talk about the fair distribution of expenses, propose transparent rules, and refuse to play the role of the one who always saves the budget of others, sacrificing their own goals. This will be an important step towards making room in their financial field for a large sum specifically for them. September will force Libras to move from beautiful concepts to dry mathematics. They will sit down with tables, accounting programs, financial planners, and calculate specific scenarios. What will happen if they change jobs? How much they will earn in a new direction? What expenses can be optimized without losing quality of life? In September, Libras will behave like financial analysts of their own destiny. Few beautiful words, maximum numbers. And it is in this state that they may receive offers that will look like a find. Transparent conditions, clear responsibilities, decent pay, and reasonable terms. Libra's prepared mind will be able to quickly assess where it really makes sense to go. October will be the month when big deals, serious clients, or contracts with substantial sums will actually appear in Libra's life. This will not necessarily be a single instant win, but more often a combination of several large payments that will show that their financial level has risen. October will require maximum concentration. Libras will sign documents, agree on schedules, decide which opportunities to take and which to reject, even if they sound flattering. This will be a period when it becomes clear that it is their ability to make balanced decisions, rather than chasing after shiny wrappers, that will lead them into a financial league where talk of jackpot-like sums will not seem exaggerated. November will bring Libras the topic of disposing of what has already come. They will have concrete money in their hands, more than before. And the question will arise, where to direct it? This month, Libras will create their own system of scales in the literal sense. What part will go into reserve for unforeseen situations? What part will go toward development, education, tools, expansion of activities? And what part will go toward fulfilling long-held dreams? November will show whether the results of the year will turn into a solid foundation or crumble into a series of impulsive purchases. And this is where their ability to think through the consequences will come in handy. Libras will be able to break down each financial decision into short-term and long-term effects and choose what really strengthens their position. December will end the year for Libras with a sense of inner balance, which has long been lacking in the area of money. They will see that they are able to talk about finances calmly, without shame or aggression, that they can set conditions without destroying relationships, that their value as a partner is now measured not only by the words, "You are so cool," but also by specific figures in statements and contracts. December will become a symbol of a new caliber for them. Libras will no longer want to return to the role of a convenient person who agrees to everything so as not to spoil the atmosphere. They will feel crystal clear that financial harmony is only possible when they put themselves at the center of their own balance, rather than just adjusting to others. Throughout 2026, Libras will go through several key internal triggers that will become their path to a conditional jackpot. They will learn to refuse projects that do not pay for their expertise. They will begin to distinguish between sincere cooperation and manipulative promises. They will stop giving their time and expertise for free, where it has long since turned into exploitation. They will make it a rule not to make financial decisions out of fear of losing someone or looking bad, and this will radically change the structure of their income. The main risks for Libras in 2026 will be related to the desire to be liked by everyone. As soon as they agree to a lower price, so as not to offend, do extra work because it's awkward to say no, or take on other people's financial obligations, because they ask me and I'm a good person. Their chance for a big financial breakthrough will begin to melt away. Another danger is participating in dubious schemes because of trust in beautiful people and nice presentations. In 2026, it will be important for Libras not to invest money or time where there are no transparent conditions, contracts, and clear models of earnings. If Libras keep their focus on honest agreements, clearly defined rules of the game, equal partnerships, and their own dignity in every financial conversation, 2026 will give them exactly what entertainment forecasts would call a jackpot win. This will not be a fluke, but the culmination of a year during which they will gradually place themselves at the center of their own coordinate system, learning to choose conditions, people, and decisions worthy of their true value. Scorpio. For Scorpio, 2026 will be a year of big games in which not only money, but also influence, control, and inner freedom will be at stake. They will not be satisfied with small wins or random bonuses. They will be interested in reaching a level where the numbers in their accounts begin to match their true inner strength. It is Scorpio who will be talked about in this year's financial forecasts as a person who will be able to reach the jackpot not through luck, but through their ability to go where others simply do not dare to go. Their strength in financial matters will be obvious. Where most people retreat out of fear, they will be able to look right into the heart of the risk, see the hidden mechanisms, understand people's true motivations, and read not only numbers, but also intentions. In 2026, Scorpio will be the one who senses when someone is not telling the whole story, where there is a weak spot in the scheme, and where there is a breakthrough point. He will be ready to work with large sums of money, take on difficult tasks, and engage in the unattractive but very profitable part of the job. Their main threat is the desire to control everything down to the last detail, as well as the temptation to take too many risks to prove to themselves that they can withstand any pressure. In January, Scorpios will undergo an internal test of honesty with themselves. They will look at how they have handled money in recent years, where they chased quick results, where they agreed to be the grey cardinal who does the key work but remains in the shadows, where they allowed others to use their resources because it was profitable for them to remain invisible. January will be a month of tough analysis. Scorpio will recall deals where they were really underestimated, situations where they deliberately did not assert their rights, moments where they shrugged off injustice because it was easier that way. And it is during this period that they will decide to no longer agree to the role of a person who pulls their weight but does not get the lion's share. February for Scorpio will be associated with cleaning up the financial field. They will break toxic agreements, leave projects where everything was based on manipulation, and pay off old debts that everyone has forgotten about. If someone has been taking advantage of their expertise for years for little money, in February, Scorpio will put an end to it. They will not argue or make emotional scenes. A short phrase will suffice. I will no longer work for that price. In February, they will cut off the excess without regret, understanding that each segment freed from stagnation gives way to new financial opportunities. March will open up the topic of influence and power for them. It is in this month that Scorpio will learn to convert their strategic thinking into money. They will choose positions where they can not only perform tasks, but also shape the rules of the game. Leadership roles, participation in decisive stages of projects, high-level consulting, work where large budgets will depend on their decisions. In March, they will begin to realize that real big income comes when a person is responsible for the levers, not just for operational tasks. And they will purposefully move into this area. April will be a month of deep immersion in the topic of financial instruments. Scorpio will not limit himself to basic knowledge. He will read professional analytics, listen to experts, understand the structure of complex products, study legal nuances, income models, and money protection schemes. He will be interested not in superficial advice, but in how everything works inside. It is in April that they will form their own system of admission, where money can go and where it cannot, regardless of promises of golden mountains. This will protect them from devastating mistakes that could negate any big win. In May, Scorpios will reach a new level of working with decision makers. They will meet with business owners, top managers, investors, and people who control significant resources. They will not impress them with a beautiful shell, but will instead demonstrate a deep understanding of processes, accurate diagnosis, and the ability to call things by their proper names. In May, they will lay the foundation for partnerships where they will be entrusted with major tasks and corresponding budgets. They will not rush with proposals, but will first demonstrate their value. A few accurate tips, 1 or 2 situations saved, results shown in practice. June will bring the theme of hidden resources into his life. Scorpio will notice where his dead competencies, connections, and achievements lie. He will remember old projects, ideas, and half-finished systems that he once put off for later. In June, they will begin to bring all of this to the surface, refine it, repackage it, and turn it into tools for earning money. For some, this will be a return to a long-forgotten professional niche. For others, a relaunch of a product on a new level. And for others, the use of their own history as an example for consulting or mentoring. June will be a reminder that big money often comes not from something new, but from the right use of what already exists. In July, Scorpios will be particularly sensitive to any attempts to pressure them. It will be a month when those around them will try to either drag them into overly risky situations, or conversely, keep them from taking bold steps with phrases like, "Don't take risks, sit tight." Some will call them to adventure. Others will persuade them not to stick their necks out. July will be a period of internal choice, whether to play by someone else's rules or create their own. This month, Scorpio will sift through the advice of people who are afraid to act themselves and will not allow them to shape their financial reality. They will do what they think is right, based on facts, analysis, and their inner sense of the moment. August will shift the focus to endurance. The closer they get to large sums of money, the heavier the load will become. More responsibility, deadlines, difficult tasks, and tense negotiations. In August, Scorpios will be tested on their ability to maintain a high level of tension for a long time and not break down. They will build a routine that will allow them to endure the marathon. Normal sleep, physical exercise, minimal bad habits, and limited chaotic social activity. During this period, they will understand that in order to hit the jackpot, they need not only a sharp mind, but also a strong physical and mental foundation. September will be a month of structuring power and money. Scorpio will figure out how control is distributed in the projects in which he participates. Who really decides where the business is going? Who determines the profit distribution scheme? Who has access to key accounts? If they previously agreed to the role of the brains behind the scenes, in September, they will demand a format where their participation is legally and financially documented. This could be a share in the business, a percentage of profits, or bonuses for results. September will be the month when Scorpio stops working for free, where he actually plays a strategic role. In October, there may be some climactic financial events in his life. This period may see the closing of a large contract, a profitable sale, substantial payments for long and complex work, or the signing of an agreement he has been working on for a long time. This money will not look like a windfall. Those around them will see it as the result of a powerful game, not a gift of fate. At the same time, October will be a test of how Scorpios behave with a large sum of money. If they go down the path of ostentatious spending, trying to prove to everyone that they can do it, the feeling of winning will be bright but short-lived. If, on the other hand, they perceive the money they have received as a tool for further strengthening their position, the effect of October will stretch out for years. November will shift the focus from earning to protecting and preserving. Scorpio will think about how to secure their capital, legal structures, banking instruments, asset structuring, creating backup scenarios. This month, they will weigh up where it is better to keep large sums of money, what risks are worth spreading, and where documents are needed to protect their interests in the event of conflicts or force majeure. November will be very pragmatic. No illusions, maximum specificity. Scorpio will take steps that will allow them to sleep more peacefully, even if the stakes get higher. December will bring them a new level of inner peace. Scorpio will look back on the year and realize that they have entered a completely different financial weight class. They will see how others' attitudes toward them have changed. Those who previously perceived them as a strong but convenient executor will now talk to them as a partner whose opinion must be taken into account. In December, they will say little and explain even less. They will not need to prove their strength, as their money and results will speak for themselves. And it is in this inner peace that they will plan their next moves, no longer from the position of someone who wants to break out, but from the position of someone who has resources and is preparing to use them even more wisely. Throughout 2026, Scorpio will go through several key lessons, without which a major financial breakthrough simply will not happen. The first is to refuse to play games in the shadows where an open position is needed. He will no longer agree to schemes where all the hard work falls on him, while the glory and money go to others. The second is to control their own thirst for risk. They will have to learn to distinguish between courage and self-destruction, to close access to stories where the stakes are disproportionate to the opportunities, where everything is based on other people's promises rather than transparent structures. The third is an ecological attitude to power. Scorpio will understand that big money automatically amplifies any of his traits. If he seeks revenge, manipulates, or pressures others, life will very quickly respond by taking away what he has gained. If, on the other hand, he uses his power to build, protect, and strengthen promising projects, his resources will only increase. The most serious risk for Scorpio this year is the temptation to prove to the world that they are invincible. This may push them into conflicts that make no sense to get into, spending money on long court battles, principled wars, and sorting out relationships that will not bring any financial return. This is where they will have to choose. Do they want to be right, or do they want results? In 2026, Scorpios who prioritize results over the desire to win at any cost will come closer to their big win. As a result, their path through 2026 will resemble not a random stroke of luck, but a carefully planned operation, clearing the field, entering into the right alliances, securing influence legally and financially, withstanding pressure and protecting capital. And when, at a certain moment, a sum appears in Scorpio's account that is sharply different from anything that has come before, it will only look like a jackpot to outsiders. He himself will know for sure. This is the moment for which he has been preparing with every decision, every yes, and especially every no throughout the year. Sagittarius. The 2026 financial year for Sagittarius will look like a long-distance race with strategically placed targets, where every accurate shot at the right moment will bring in money on a much larger scale than they are used to receiving. In popular astrological versions, it is this sign that will be associated with the theme of a big win in 2026. not necessarily only in the form of a lottery, but as a sum from various sources that will suddenly add up to an impressive figure, their own conditional jackpot. Sagittarius will venture into areas that once seemed like a dream. Other cities, other countries, new markets, new audiences. And it is this willingness to play far that will open doors for them that more cautious signs would not even approach. In financial terms, Sagittarius in 2026 will be a striking combination of courage, optimism, belief in their own star, and a willingness to take risks where others seek guarantees. They will see opportunities where others see only problems. Changes in laws, exchange rate fluctuations, market redistribution, and the transition of business to online. Their downside will be a tendency toward excessive enthusiasm, the desire to take everything at once, promising themselves that it will work out somehow, and an unwillingness to stop in time. Typical mistakes Sagittarius will make with money during this period include spreading themselves too thin across 10 projects, incurring unnecessary expenses due to their love of freedom and travel, and trusting people too easily who talk a good game but don't take real responsibility. In January, Sagittarius will greet the new year with a keen sense that it's time to move on. Their thoughts will revolve less around small everyday tasks and more around large-scale plans, changing fields, switching to remote work with foreign clients, launching something of their own on the internet, moving, or at least traveling frequently without losing income. This month, they will draw up their first rough plans. Which areas are worth investing time in, which languages or platforms to work on, what minimum monthly income to plan for, and what their desired level is. Importantly, in January, they will be planning, not just dreaming. Their list of goals will turn into a roadmap. In February, people will come to the fore. Sagittarius will be more active in joining professional communities, writing to acquaintances who already live or work where he himself aspires to be, participating in online events where those who work with large budgets or international clients gather. They will pump up their networking, making acquaintances in other countries, entering new markets, and initiating dialogues with those who could become partners, mentors, or clients. In February, they will talk a lot, negotiate, ask questions. And it is through these contacts that the first potential targets will emerge, which will pay off later. March will be a month when Sagittarius will actively improve their skills. They will learn what makes them valuable in the global arena, improving their language skills, digital skills, marketing, sales, working with international platforms, and analytics. This month, they will stop relying solely on intuition and luck. They will come to clearly understand that big money favors professionals. That is why they will sign up for courses, seek mentorship, and gather bits and pieces of knowledge that will allow them to not just accidentally receive a large payment, but to systematically work at a high level. In April, Sagittarius will take the first concrete steps, creating pages, websites, profiles on international platforms, posting portfolios, testing products or services, and writing commercial proposals. This will be a month of trial runs, where every action will be important. They will try different formats, sometimes as an expert, sometimes as a creator, sometimes as a mentor, sometimes as a contractor. In April, the main task will not be perfection, but inclusion. Sagittarius will do, launch, test, make mistakes, and reformat. The more actions he takes during this period, the more data he will receive for analysis and course correction. May will resemble a runway. The first results of the steps taken in spring will begin to return in the form of concrete money. Small but frequent payments, first foreign clients, orders from people he met in winter, trial agreements with new partners. In May, Sagittarius will feel that everything has moved forward, but the initial amounts will not yet meet his ambitions. This is where the temptation to abandon one direction for another, where faster results are promised, will arise. A strong Sagittarius this month will focus on at least 2 or 3 areas, without spreading themselves too thin, and will see what they have started through to the logical stage of verification, rather than giving up after the first difficulties. In June, the year will shift into a more intense mode. Sagittarius will receive more requests, letters, messages, and offers. Time will seem to shrink. Work, study, communication, personal life, ideas for new projects, all of this will overlap. In June, they will learn to set priorities. What brings in the most money now? What has potential later? And what takes energy without giving anything back? Without this selection, they will risk simply burning out emotionally. Sagittarius's discipline in June will be expressed not in strict schedules, but in the ability to choose 3 out of 4 main tasks for the day and not allow anything else to interfere with their completion. July will be a month of maximum mobility for this sign. Possible trips, relocations, business trips, participation in trainings, conferences, meetings in other cities or countries, active filming, and the launch of live and online projects. In July, Sagittarius will be in a state where events will change so quickly that money will literally follow them. Fees for performances, advances for future work, payments for completed projects, sales of products or services. This dynamic period will also hide danger. At the peak of activity, there will be a desire to play, to try your luck in risky financial ventures, to bet a larger amount for the sake of interest, to get involved in instruments that promise super profits in a short time. Sagittarius, who will keep a cool head, will immediately set a rule for themselves. No bets or loans based on emotion. Only a clearly defined legal and safe budget for entertainment that you don't mind losing. In August, the vector will shift towards consolidation. It is in this month that the best of the directions launched earlier will begin to yield tangible results. For some, this will be large orders from foreign customers. For others, a sharp increase in online sales, and for others, high fees for expert services. In August, Sagittarius will learn not only how to earn money, but also how to set prices correctly. Not to be afraid of higher rates, to honestly calculate the amount of work, time, and level of responsibility. This month, they will see that when they raise the bar of respect for their own work, the market begins to respond accordingly. August is likely to be the first month of the year when Sagittarius's total income reaches a level that was previously considered a very ambitious goal. September will require more consistency from him. When money starts coming in from different directions, it will be important not to lose control. Taxes, contracts, payment schedules, legal nuances, accounts in different currencies, working with banks and payment systems. In September, Sagittarius will be forced to do things that are not usually very interesting to them. Trigger payment dates, document flow, and clear recording of agreements. Perhaps they will hire an accountant, lawyer, or financial advisor, someone who will cover the areas they themselves do not want to and do not like to delve into. This will be the right decision, to entrust routine control to those who are better at it, and to focus on strategy and development themselves. October, in Sagittarius's financial story, will look like a month when the cards come together. It is during this period that a very large sum may be received. As a result of several large deals, completed projects, payments from various partners, bonuses, interest, and successful launches. For some, it will be one truly significant deal that will bring in a jackpot-sized amount of money in the context of their personal life. For others, It will be a combination of several streams that will converge into a large sum over a short period of time. In October, the main challenge will not be the fact of receiving money, but the reaction to it. Sagittarius will be faced with a choice: to let emotions squander the result or to use it as a springboard. In November, the focus will shift to the long term. Sagittarius, who will experience what big money is like, will no longer want to return to the earn, spend, start from scratch mode. This month, they will think differently. Not, how much can I spend, but how can I make this amount work for me? They will divide the capital they receive into parts. One will go into reserves, one into safe financial instruments, one into the development of projects that have shown results, and one into their personal life and dreams. November will be the month when Sagittarius realizes that his freedom is directly related not only to his ability to earn, but also to his ability to save and multiply. December will end the year for Sagittarius with the feeling that they are now playing in a different league. They will see how the geography of their life has changed. Perhaps a different country or city, different clients, a different scale of tasks. They will notice that their words in financial conversations sound more confident and their position is more firm. In December, they will take stock of their personal achievements, which risks proved to be justified, which experiments did not work but provided important experience, which people were key to this leap forward and with whom they have parted ways for good. Most importantly, he will make decisions about where to go next based on his new level, rather than returning to his old framework. Throughout 2026, Sagittarius will have several key behavioral triggers that will shape his financial results. First, they will think more broadly than the average person. They will look not only at their own backyard and city, but also at other markets, other countries, and other audiences. Second, they will be ready to learn quickly, to master tools, platforms, and formats that will allow them to work without being tied to a specific location. Third, they will be active in communication. They will not wait to be found, but will reach out to people who can be useful professionally. Fourth, they will train themselves in financial discipline, planning budgets, setting limits on entertainment, and tracking key cash flows. Fifth, they will learn to say no when offered dubious schemes, excessive risks, or simply poorly paid tasks that steal time from more promising areas. The risks of the year for Sagittarius will be related to his strengths, taken to extremes. Optimism may push him to participate in projects where there is no clear income model. His love of freedom may tempt him to put all his money into one very risky instrument in order to solve the problem faster. Confidence in their luck may lead to a habit of betting large sums on gambling or engaging in speculation without a real understanding of the rules. If Sagittarius allows themselves to take such steps in 2026, even the most successful months will turn into a roller coaster. Big wins today, big losses tomorrow. A simple rule will serve as a safeguard. Everything associated with high risk will be limited to a clearly defined small percentage of income that will not affect basic financial security. No loans for luck, no big bets to hit the jackpot once and for all. Sagittarius will build their main capital on what they do best: learning quickly, working with people, seeing prospects, acting boldly but not recklessly. If they maintain this balance throughout the year, between scale and caution, between faith in their lucky star and sober calculation, 2026 will be a period when the concept of a big win will cease to be a dream and become a real financial reality for Sagittarius. And then, any entertaining astrological story about this sign in 2026 will be able to honestly say, Sagittarius will have every chance to live the year as if they had hit their personal jackpot, not by accident, but thanks to their courage to act where others only think, and their willingness to expand their horizons when most choose to sit still. Capricorn. 2026 will be a year for Capricorn when strict discipline and cold calculation will be converted into money on a scale that can hardly be called a simple increase in income. In entertainment astrology formats, he will be talked about as a person who will be close to winning a big prize thanks to his ability to stay the course when others are rushing from side to side. He will not need to play risky games. He will build a system in which large sums will be the logical result of a correctly assembled structure of decisions, habits, and choice of environment. Capricorn will be as pragmatic as possible when it comes to money in 2026. They will not chase after flashy images, buy status for the sake of status, or spend resources just to impress someone. Their strengths will be patience, strategic thinking, a willingness to work longer and harder than most, and attention to rules and legal nuances. His weaknesses will be harshness towards himself, a tendency to postpone rest until better times, and the risk of turning life into an endless race for results in which joy disappears. Typical mistakes include excessive economizing on one's health and development, trusting structures rather than people, sometimes to one's detriment, and delaying the moment when it is worth raising the price of one's services or demanding a fair share. January will be a month of tough inventory start for Capricorn. They will sort out their financial world, assets, debts, regular payments, long-term obligations, real and potential sources of income. Capricorn will sit over tables, applications, and statements until they see the picture without embellishment. It is in January that they will set their key goal for the year, not a vague earn more, but a specific range of amounts that will suit them and a structure through which they will achieve it. The first decisions will appear: which expenses to give up, where to set strict limits, which small financial holes need to be closed immediately. February will force Capricorn to turn their attention to their professional position. They will see if their current role corresponds to the money they plan to earn. If the correspondence is weak, in February, there will be a clear internal decision to shift levels, to move to another level where more competencies will be required of them, but they will also be paid significantly higher. Capricorn will prepare the ground, update their resume, portfolio, structure their cases, and form arguments for negotiations. Their refusal to be a quiet, irreplaceable employee and transition to a key player without whom the system does not work will be an important turning point. March will bring the topic of knowledge that can be directly converted into money. Capricorns will choose not general motivational courses, but applied skills, financial analysis, project management, working with large budgets, legal literacy, and automation tools. It will be important for them to be able to speak the same language as accountants, lawyers, managers, and investors. In March, Capricorns will invest time in what will make them a dangerous competitor. They will learn to read numbers the way others read text and see structure where others see chaos. April will be a month of adjusting his environment. Capricorn will take a close look at those he works with and trusts with financially important matters. People who drain his energy with drama, chaos, and endless fires will gradually fade into the background. There will be more contact with those who think in terms of long distances, multi-year contracts, and stable partnerships. In April, Capricorn will clearly feel that if someone does not take their time and professionalism seriously, then that person does not fit into their new financial reality. Rejecting old patterns of cooperation may be cold, but it will be correct. May will push Capricorns to launch big plans that they may have been preparing for several years. This could be their own project, entering a new niche, creating a separate line of business, scaling up, or changing markets. Capricorns will not make loud statements, but will quietly open new legal entities, accounts, branches, subsidiaries, and products. It is in May that the first contracts will become noticeable, with amounts that were previously considered fantasy. Capricorns will negotiate without emotion, strictly fixing the terms in writing. June will test Capricorn's ability to delegate. They will find themselves in a situation where the volume of work and the number of requests will exceed their personal resources. If they try to keep everything to themselves, they will risk exhaustion and mistakes. If, however, they begin to distribute tasks correctly in June, hiring assistants, outsourcing some of the work to contractors, building small teams, this will radically change the scale of their capabilities. Capricorns will learn to trust not only systems, but also people. Not everyone, but carefully selected individuals. July will highlight the topic of personal life and money. This is where it will become clear how his close circle affects his finances. Partners, family, relatives, important people around him. Their habits, expectations, and spending habits will have a direct effect on how Capricorn moves toward his big goal. In July, they will set boundaries, limit financial parasitism, explain where help ends and exploitation begins, and establish rules for shared expenses. This is not about stinginess, but about fairness. They will understand that carrying the burden of someone else's irresponsibility means slowing down their own progress. August will be a month of concentration for Capricorn. No unnecessary distractions, minimal noise, maximum focus. It is at this time that they will complete major stages of projects, prepare to sign important agreements, and close complex blocks of work. The workload will be significant, but Capricorn will withstand it thanks to their routine, a clear schedule, well-planned rest, and limiting information overload. In August, they will not get involved in conflicts, discussions, and disputes that do not yield financial results. Their main criterion will be a simple question: does this bring me closer to my goal or further away? September will open up the first big horizon of results. Some long-term deals will start to bring in significant payments, and completed stages of work will bring bonuses and interest. Capricorns will see how the amounts in their accounts cease to be normal and smoothly transition into the influential category. They will not rush to spend them. September will be a month of analysis. Which tools showed the best return? Which partners proved to be reliable? Which decisions worked particularly well? Based on this analysis, Capricorns will adjust their plans for the rest of the year, focusing on the most effective areas. October will bring them to peak financial events. This month, large sums of money may come at once. The completion of a long-term contract, a share sale agreement, a large bonus, payment for a successfully completed project, or the consolidation of profits from several areas. The amounts that appear will be significantly different from what Capricorn has been accustomed to in previous years. For some, it will be their first six-figure payment. For others, an amount that allows them to talk about a level close to a large prize fund on a personal scale. In October, the most important task will be not to get carried away by emotions, not to start compensating for years of tension with chaotic purchases, not to allow those around you to dictate where you should spend this money. November will shift Capricorn's attention to saving and growing their wealth. They will consult with experts, compare banking and investment offers, and think through the structure of their assets, part in liquid instruments, part in secure ones, and part in self-development and projects. This month, they will introduce a rule for themselves. No serious decisions will be made in one day. There will be time for analysis, risk assessment, and partner verification. For Capricorns, November is the month of creating a financial skeleton that will support them for years to come. December will bring him an awareness of the scale of what he has accomplished. Capricorn will look back on his path in 2026 not as a random set of events, but as a logical chain of steps that led him to the sum and status he had previously thought about cautiously. He will be calmer about money matters than ever before. The fear of being left with nothing will begin to recede, because he will have not just a number behind him, but a system. In December, Capricorn will be making plans from a new platform, expansion, new markets, other levels of responsibility. He will realize that he can afford not to rush, but to choose where to invest his energy and resources. Throughout the year, several practical triggers will be at work, shaping Capricorn's path to a major financial milestone. First, they will systematically see everything they take on through to the end. Where others will stop halfway, they will push on, finish, and make adjustments. Second, they will not agree to deals without clearly defined terms. No verbal agreements. No, we'll figure it out later. Third, he will look at every yes through the prism of time. How many hours and days will this decision take, whether it is cheaper to refuse? Fourth, he will keep expenses under control, not in a mode of pathological economy, but in the format of rational decisions. Fifth, he will learn to give himself the right to rest so as not to burn out on the rise, because a burnt-out Capricorn does not earn. He simply survives. The risks of 2026 for him will be associated with extremes. If they start working without breaks, to the point of exhaustion, convincing themselves that just a little more, and then I'll rest, their body will respond with illness or breakdowns that will set them back. If Capricorns decide that only they can do everything right and refuse to delegate anything, they will drown in operations and miss out on major opportunities. If, due to distrust of the outside world, he locks his money into only one instrument or one country, the risk of external changes will become too great for him. Also dangerous will be the habit of clinging to stability when the market clearly suggests that it is time to change the format of work. The safeguards will be simple and at the same time demanding on character. Capricorn will introduce a strict rule: regular days off for recovery. Even when things are very hot, he will force himself to trust the tasks to those he has carefully selected and give them a chance to grow. They will spread out the risks, not allowing any one decision to become critical for the entire system. They will learn not to cling to old positions just because they once invested energy in them. If a direction no longer brings in the level of income that corresponds to the new scale, they will be ready to let it go without regret. As a result, Capricorn in 2026 will resemble an architect who is building not a summer cottage, but a capital complex for decades. And when, at a certain point in the year, his account shows a sum that exceeds anything he has seen before, it will look like incredible success to outsiders. For Capricorn, it will be confirmation that discipline, long-term strategy, cold calculation, and a willingness to work where others are afraid to can lead to his own big jackpot. Money that does not fall by chance, but becomes a logical reward for a year lived correctly. Aquarius. Ahead of Aquarius lies a year in which money will cease to be just numbers and will become a tool for realizing bold ideas, joint projects, and personal freedom. Among all the stories of big wins in 2026, it is Aquarius who will be associated with breakthroughs where everything previously seemed frozen. New technological directions, unusual sources of income, cooperation with people from different countries. monetization of what was previously considered just a hobby. Aquarius will not sit within old frameworks. He will constantly remove himself from familiar patterns and move to environments where big ideas and big money circulate. In financial terms, Aquarius will have a striking feature in 2026. They will not seek stability in the classical sense, but will instead choose dynamism, flexibility, and freedom of maneuver. They will willingly work at the intersection of different fields, combining several roles, combining creativity, analytics, digital tools, community management, and product launches. Their strengths include the ability to see trends before others, a sense of future demand, and a natural ability to unite people around ideas. Weaknesses include distraction, a tendency to abandon one thing for another if it becomes boring, and underestimating the importance of clear financial rules. To get closer to their hypothetical jackpot, Aquarians will learn to combine freedom of thought with a basic financial structure. January in the life of Aquarius will be a month of awakening ambitions in terms of income. He will start the year with the idea that old models of earning money no longer suit either his inner feelings or the scale of his ideas. During this period, they will honestly admit where they are working below their potential, where they are holding on to a job only out of habit or fear of change, and where they are stuck in projects that are not scalable. In January, Aquarius will outline financial benchmarks, the desired level of income, the goal in currency, the amounts he would like to see in his accounts throughout the year. He will not limit himself to one figure. He will break it down into parts: basic security, development, reserves, big dreams. And that is when they will make a decision. Without digital tools and working with an online audience, it will be difficult to reach the desired amounts, so online platforms, international services, and remote formats will become a priority. In February, the focus will shift to their circle of contacts. Aquarians will actively expand their professional network. They will join communities, enter thematic chats, and take online courses where they can meet colleagues from other cities and countries. They will not just be looking for acquaintances for the sake of it, but for people with whom they can launch ideas: developers, marketers, designers, producers, financiers, and bloggers. In February, live conversations will become important. Aquarius will actively describe what they can do, what projects they are interested in, what goals they will set, and this will trigger a chain of events: invitations to collaborate, offers to test themselves in new roles, and the first calls to join teams that will work on significant budgets. March will bring a feeling that it is time to rethink one's professional brand. Aquarius will prepare to step out of the shadows if they previously worked anonymously or purely for someone else. They will update their profiles, portfolios, case studies, and visual design, and work on their online presence. Their task will not be to create an artificial image, but to clearly show that they can do better than many others, launch non-standard formats, think one step ahead, combine technology with human needs. March will be a period when Aquarius will realize that big money often comes to those who can be easily described in one sentence, and he will formulate this sentence for himself. In April, experimentation will come to the fore. Aquarius will not sit still. They will test new sources of income, launch trial products, go on air, conduct short educational formats, and create digital products that could potentially generate money multiple times: checklists, templates, tools, mini courses, and original formulas. During this period, several areas will look promising but still unstable. An important rule will be not to abandon everything at once for one ideal option, but to simultaneously observe where the audience will respond more actively where people will be willing to pay, not just like. May will bring back the topic of financial discipline. It is in this month that money will start to come in and go out faster. Advances, prepayments, small payments for digital products, the first serious fees for new formats. If Aquarius does not keep track of the numbers, it will be difficult for them to understand where they will earn the most and where they are just spinning their wheels. In May, they will start creating tables, applications, and tracking systems. Income in each area, advertising costs, platforms, commissions, equipment. This is not their favorite part, but it is what will provide clarity. Which of the experiments is already turning into a stable source of income? June will reinforce stories with impressive results. Aquarius will already have several striking cases: a successful launch, a partnership that brought in more than expected, a video or project that garnered a lot of coverage and orders. This is the time when they will start selling not just their hours of work, but their experience. I've already been down this road. I know what works. In June, the cost of their participation in projects will naturally increase. There will be a temptation to agree to all requests. One more launch, one more team, one more direction. And this is where boundaries will be needed. Aquarius will choose those stories where they will either pay enough, give access to a new audience, or open up the prospect of a share in the profits. Everything else will gradually fall away. July will be a period of financial and emotional ups and downs for Aquarius if they do not take care of their balance in advance. Workloads, deadlines, parallel tasks, the need to communicate with different types of people, all this will require a lot of energy. At such moments, there will be a temptation to let off steam through spontaneous spending. Trips just because. Expensive gadgets for inspiration. Numerous subscriptions and activities that lead nowhere. In July, Aquarius will be forced to introduce a rule, a separate budget for pleasures that will not affect the main capital. If they can avoid turning every emotion into an expense, money will start to accumulate instead of immediately disappearing. August will bring them to the topic of large collective projects. That is when proposals may appear to create platforms, services, communities, educational products, podcasts, or large-scale online projects that will involve not a one-time payment, but a distribution of profits among participants. Aquarius will be at the center of such ideas because they will be able to connect people and structure concepts. However, special attention will be required here. Clear contracts, defined roles, shares, and responsibilities. If they sign terms in August that undervalue their contribution, it will not be easy to rectify the situation later. If, on the other hand, they secure a fair share from the outset, one of these projects could eventually bring them a sum very similar to winning a large cash prize. September will raise the issue of stability. When income jumps above the usual level, Aquarius will start thinking about how to make sure it is not a one-time spike. This month, he will build a minimum guaranteed level. How much money should come in every month, even if large launches are temporarily halted? This could be a subscription to regular services, regular clients for support, a stable volume of consultations, or payments for already created products. September will teach them not to rely solely on hype. Even if one project sometimes brings in a lot, the foundation will consist of those areas that quietly contribute each time. A financial peak is possible in October. Several significant events may coincide for Aquarius during this period. A large payment for a long-term project, the completion of a successful launch, significant royalties, income from digital products that will take off, plus new orders that will come thanks to previous cases. The amount that will appear in accounts in October may look impressive even to Aquarius, who is used to unusual scenarios. And here, the key question arises: what will they do with this amount? If he gives in to impulse and starts partying, trying to reward himself for all his previous efforts, the effect of the year will quickly fade away. If, on the other hand, he perceives this amount as a starting point for a new level, distributes it wisely, and transfers part of it into assets, the feeling of winning will last a long time. November will direct Aquarius's attention toward money protection systems. They will think about accounts in different banks, reserve funds, tax planning, legal registration of their activities, insurance, and competent forms of cooperation with foreign clients. During this period, they will turn to specialists, lawyers, financial advisors, accountants, so as not to have to do everything themselves. Transparency will be of particular importance. Everything that can be officially formalized will be better formalized so that there is no need to fear audits, rule changes, or conflicts with partners. November will bring peace of mind about what has already been earned and lay the foundation for future cycles. December will be a month of shifting internal feelings onto a new track. Aquarius will understand that their relationship with money has changed. They will stop seeing large sums as something alien. There will be more confidence, less chaotic movement, and more understanding of where the main funds come from. In December, they will analyze which decisions of the year were turning points, which, yes, opened the way to big deals, which, no, protected them from failure, and which people became true financial allies. And that is when Aquarius will decide how to use the experience gained to continue growing in selected areas, add new markets, reduce dependence on one country or platform. Throughout 2026, Aquarius will have several habits that will bring them closer to their own jackpot. They will systematically return to learning, short but regular updates on digital tools, global trends, and online earning models. They will not be shy about turning to people who are stronger in finance for advice, instead of taking complex steps blindly. They will maintain relationships with key partners, not disappearing after the completion of projects, but remaining in their field of attention. This will bring repeat orders and new recommendations. He will set up his digital environment so that money can come from different sources: platforms, subscriptions, commissions, royalties, and affiliate programs. At the same time, he will protect his time and nervous system from information overload, leaving maximum resources for truly promising things. The main risks for them will appear in two areas. The first is an excessive belief that somehow it will work out. This can push Aquarius into situations without contracts, without clearly defined conditions, without understanding the earning model. The second is internal chaos, when so many directions are launched at once that none of them lead to a stable income. Another danger will be getting involved in risky ventures, dubious crypto schemes, bets, pyramid schemes that promise super profits in a minimum amount of time. Here, it will be worth imposing a strict ban on yourself. Do not invest more than you are prepared to lose without compromising your security, and do not take out loans for the chance to hit the jackpot. If Aquarius consciously stays away from financial traps in 2026, does not dissolve all profits in instant desires, builds systematic flows, and protects himself from exhaustion, his path will very much resemble the story of a person who was lucky enough to win the jackpot. The difference is that instead of a single random ticket, they will have a whole set of clear decisions, bold steps, the right alliances, and careful attention to every penny. And that is what will make their financial luck not a coincidence, but a pattern. Pisces. Financially, 2026 will be a year of gradual awakening to their own worth for Pisces, when money will finally begin to catch up with the depth of their abilities, rather than their own low expectations. This sign will no longer agree to play the role of a quiet, nameless assistant who feels everything, pulls everything out, but gets only the leftovers. In astrological entertainment terms, Pisces in 2026 will often be talked about as those who are capable of unexpectedly finding themselves with a very large sum of money, a conditional jackpot, not through adventure, but through the correct use of intuition, empathy, and the ability to read trends long before the majority notices them. When it comes to money, Pisces will be extremely subtle this year. They will sense the mood of the market, people's emotions, and changes in the demands of their audience, clients, and partners. And this is what will give them an advantage. They will understand in time that people are tired of aggressive sales tactics and are looking for more care, honesty, in-depth service, and sincere help. And this is exactly what Pisces will be able to do naturally. Their main advantage is their sensitivity to nuances, their ability to create products and services that heal through aesthetics, words, care, and atmosphere. The downside is a tendency to underprice, agree to symbolic payment, take on too much to keep the peace, and avoid specific conversations about finances. In 2026, this sign will begin to change its attitude toward itself. Pisces will understand that their softness does not negate their right to big money. In January, Pisces will take stock of how they handled money in the past. They will look back on times when they worked with their heart, but were left with almost nothing. On situations when someone promised to pay later, when we're in the black, as soon as everything is settled, and that later never came. In January, they will decide that they will no longer take on the role of an endless benefactor in their professional sphere. This does not mean that Pisces will become harsh and cold, but they will introduce a rule for themselves. If it is work, it must be paid for. If it is a one-time act of kindness, it will not turn into a permanent free service. January will be the point from which they will begin to distinguish the energy of sincere mutual assistance from the energy of exploitation. In February, Pisces will take a close look at their own talents. They will begin to notice how many times people have said to them, "You make things easier. You know how to calm people down. You design so beautifully. You feel the moment. You always know what to say or do." Previously, all this was perceived as background noise, pleasant, but not about money. In February, these phrases will become clues. Where exactly Pisces will be able to create services, products, and formats that will generate income. These could be consultations, creative projects, design, writing, working with people, teaching, support, care, psychological or spiritual practices, or aesthetic services. This month, they will make a list of what they do naturally and cut out what requires them to force themselves, even if it previously seemed like more reliable work. March will be the first step towards structuring this inner wealth. Pisces will translate their skills into specific formats, service packages, consulting sessions, original products, price lists, and clearly formulated proposals for clients or employers. This is the month when the words, terms, format, and price will appear in their lives. They will stop saying, "We'll work something out," and start saying, "What exactly is included in the work? How long it takes? What results it produces? And how much it costs?" March will require Pisces to emerge from the fog. All the grey areas where it was previously convenient to smear the topic of money will be illuminated. In April, contacts will come to the fore. Pisces will reach out to people they have long wanted to work with. Write to those who were once interested in their services. Remind clients they once worked with about themselves, and resume stalled dialogues. This will not be aggressive marketing. but a gentle yet confident return to the field where their talent has already been noticed. This month, a lot will depend on whether Pisces can say directly, "I am ready to take you on under these conditions. My fee is now this. I will work from this time to that time." When they stop being afraid to speak clearly, the money will start to match more. May will add emotional depth to the theme of the year. Pisces will feel that finances can no longer be based on sacrifice and self-sacrifice. They will see how often they denied themselves basic joys in order to help someone else. How they bought something important for their loved ones but put off their own needs. How they solved other people's problems, leaving themselves with stress, debt, and exhaustion. In May, this scenario will begin to fall apart. Pisces will introduce an internal rule. I will not save those who do not take steps towards their own responsibility, but I will support those who are really changing. This separation will allow them to free up energy and money for themselves. In June, Pisces will begin to look more seriously at scaling. If before this everything depended on personal time and presence, this month the question will arise: how to make it so that part of the income does not require a direct link to hours. Pisces will think about products that can be sold repeatedly: online courses, session recordings, ebooks, templates, creative works, programs, subscriptions, closed communities where people will pay for access to their experience and atmosphere. The first drafts of such projects will appear in June, and their implementation will entail technical tasks, platforms, payments, design. This will be a transition from the "I'm always around" mode to the "part of me works even when I'm resting" mode. July will be a test of limits. During this period, Pisces will be asked more often than before to do it quickly. You won't refuse. You're good at it. Help me. But at the same time, the financial side will again try to get lost between the lines. If they agree in order not to spoil relationships, July will be a month of accumulated irritation and fatigue. If Pisces learn to respond with, "I can, but it will cost this much," or "I'm fully booked right now. I won't have time," this month will be a turning point. They will see who around them truly appreciates their work and who is simply used to taking advantage of their sensitivity. August will bring the theme of big ideas into Pisces' lives. At this time, thoughts about something much bigger than individual work will inevitably arise. Your own project, brand, author's studio, platform, creative workshop, support center, or online school. If earlier such images seemed like a fantasy for someday, in August they will become a tangible vector. Pisces will write down concepts, come up with names, see images of logos, and feel the atmosphere they want to create around themselves. It is very important that this time these ideas will not remain just dreams. They will already have a certain foundation of audience, clients, experience, and finances. September will begin to convert these developments into concrete agreements. This month, serious offers of cooperation are possible. Participation in projects with large budgets, partnerships with people who know how to monetize what Pisces create with their soul, access to international clients or platforms. Much will depend on whether Pisces can enter into conversations as equals. If they say, "Whatever you say," they will be tried to be put in the position of a cheap contractor. If they say, "I will participate on these terms. For this amount of work, my rate is this. I need a transparent percentage of the profit," September will be the month of establishing new financial rules of the game. In October, events may occur that will look like a sharp financial jump. This could be a very successful collaboration, where one project brings in an amount equal to several previous months of work. A series of large orders that come in almost simultaneously. a successful product launch that reaches an unexpectedly wide audience, a contract with partners or platforms where the fee or percentage turns out to be significant. In entertaining astrological descriptions, such moments are often presented as a win or jackpot. For Pisces, this will be the culmination of a long process of internal decisions, telling themselves, "I am worthy," learning to name their price, rejecting those who devalue them, and not trading their talent for small side jobs. November will focus on what Pisces will do with the money they receive. If money did not stay in their hands for long before, immediately dissolving into gifts, help, impulsive purchases, paying for other people's problems. In November, they will approach this more carefully. They will feel the desire to create a real financial buffer for themselves for the first time. An unshakable reserve, an untouchable stockpile, a savings account, an investment instrument with moderate risk. Pisces will understand that their sensitive nervous system needs peace of mind. And peace of mind in financial matters comes not from promises, but from concrete figures in their accounts, set aside for a rainy day and for big goals. December will end the year on a very special note. Pisces will no longer see themselves as quiet dreamers who are not very lucky with money, but as people who know how to turn depth, empathy, creativity, spirituality, and service into a stable and sometimes very large income. They will see how attitudes toward them have changed. Those who previously perceived them as convenient people who will always help out will begin to take their conditions into account. Those who once paid pennies will realize that access to their time is now much more expensive. New circles will appear where they will be needed precisely as specialists, and not just as soulful people. In December, Pisces will make decisions on how to consolidate their new level, what to continue, what to close, and in which directions to invest their energy and money in the next cycle. Throughout 2026, Pisces will have several key practical supports that will lead to their own jackpot effect. They will keep track of income and expenses, even if it contradicts their natural dislike of numbers, because that is how they will see where the money really grows. They will learn to complete projects they have started, rather than disappearing when their emotional enthusiasm wanes, and this will give them a reputation for being reliable, not just inspired. They will set limits on helping people who systematically refuse to take responsibility for themselves, thereby freeing up resources for their own goals. They will be cautious with risky topics. Gambling, betting, and dubious get-rich-quick schemes will be avoided, as Pisces will feel how easy it is to lose control and peace of mind in them. The biggest risk of the year will be the old scenario of self-sacrifice, when Pisces will want to give away what they have been working towards for a long time. For example, agreeing to a series of free sessions when they have not yet paid their bills, or participating in other people's projects for the idea, while their own affairs are on hold. If they go down this path again, any big wins will quickly dissolve into other people's stories. A safeguard will be to ask yourself an honest question before each yes. Does this empower or exhaust me? Does this move me toward my financial goals or away from them? If Pisces in 2026 allow themselves to combine softness of heart with firmness in decisions, do not abandon their intuition, but add financial literacy to it. Do not betray their values, but stop sacrificing themselves for those who do not appreciate it. Then stories about their big win will look natural. The sums that begin to come in will not be random, but will correspond to the depth of work, internal transformation, and the decision to finally live not only for others, but also for oneself. And that is how this sign will have a chance to experience 2026 as a period when their intuition, talent, and heart will meet with very specific money that can change the quality of their life.